physical experience had an emotional and spiritual impact in their lives. So as I have been meditating recently on this very fact that what happens in our bodies affects us in other levels that we can't see. It affects us emotionally and spiritually more than we think. And if I would be, if all of us would be very completely honest here this morning, you would probably recognize that that is the case. Who has never been like, maybe you worked a late night and you had to push your schedule a little more than what you should. Usually you go home at 6, whatever, but I had to push to 8:30, and now you come home, your family wants to be with you, and you are all irritable because you quite didn't finish, so you have to complete the task while you're in the presence of your family. And I talk about my life sometimes here. And as you're doing that, your relationship with them emotionally, there is something that is missing there. And then you start questioning, hey, there's some feelings you have about God. God, why did you put me in this situation? Why did this guy ask me to do this report at the end of the day? Why did I have to go through all this? And then you kind of disease, the problem here was a stroke and all that. Things that happen in our bodies affect us greatly. But one thing that we know, and we take confidence in the fact is that God is a God who does everything with intentionality. God is an intentional God. So when He decides to work for 6 days and then take the 7th day off, there was a reason for that. And I don't believe that God was tired, because God doesn't get tired. Psalm 121 says that He won't fall asleep. He will never doze or sleep. He's always present and active. God created us as physical beings, I believe, who need a healthy rhythm of life. That's why I believe there is that 7-day week that becomes a template for us that, hey, this is how much you work and this is how much you rest. So there is this pattern that the 7-day week that God's creation and rest. So throughout history, while we don't hear many arguments about what should we do in those 6 days. I don't know if you ever heard somebody arguing no, we should do this, we should do that. People don't talk much about it; they just live it, right? But the 7th day, there's a lot of controversy on it. The Israelites, when they were in the wilderness, God told them, hey, collect all this grain, or all this manna, they call, this bread from heaven. Collect it for 6 days, and on the 7th day, you kind of, on the 6th day, you collect it twice, so that you don't have to collect it on the 7th day. So, could they follow that? They had a fear to follow that. What if I just, what if God doesn't come through? And I kind of have to collect it on the 7th day as well. Or Pharisees abused it. The Pharisees abused it, creating new laws and heavy weight, putting on our shoulders. What should we do on this Sabbath? And the modern man and woman have ignored it. We have been ignoring the Sabbath, but there's still a purpose for the Sabbath. There is still a purpose for this rest. In this way of life, we're inviting people into this way of life to live, and we believe this is a Jesus-centered way of life. So when we invite people to a community group, or we invite people to a gathering on Sunday, we're inviting them into our way of life. When we invite somebody to go, hey, let's do something good in the community, we're inviting this person into our way of life. That's kind of how we live, and just to give you a very brief thing. But today we'll talk about the recreate physically. And specifically, I want to talk about 3 practices that help us recreate physically. And we'll find, I hope that we'll find that the way we treat our bodies matters and impacts the way we treat our souls and our spirit. So the first practice is this. Make food your fuel. Fuel. Such a hard word to say. Make food your fuel. Fuel for the body is not comfort for our souls. A lot of times we make food an idol instead of what it's supposed to do, just nourishment for the body. Luke chapter 8, verses 51 through 56. This story, just before I read that portion, just before you get a little context, Jairus is a leader in the synagogue, and he had his daughter who was ill, and she was sick, and he goes to Jesus and asks Jesus, Jesus, my daughter is sick, can you come and go and heal her, or come, you're a great healer, I see all the stuff you're doing, come and heal her. And Jesus, yeah, let's go. And then he starts going, and then everybody's coming and pressing against him and pushing him back in a way because everybody wants to be healed, And then Jesus kind of get held up, and at the end of it, when he arrives, the people come to him and tell him that, hey, she's gone already. She died. And then this is what where we find ourselves. This is what verse 51. Luke chapter 8, verse 51. When he arrived at the house of Jairus, he did not let anyone go in with him except Peter, John, and James, and the child's father and mother. Meanwhile, all the people were wailing and mourning for her. Stop wailing, Jesus said. She's not dead, but asleep. They laughed at him, knowing that she was dead, but he took her by the hand and said, my child, get up. Her spirit returned, and at once she stood up. Then the interesting thing happened. Jesus says, then Jesus told them to give her something to eat. Jesus gives, hey, she woke up now. Give her something to eat. She needs to eat something. Jesus had just performed an amazing miracle, and the first recommendation is, hey, give her some food. I strongly believe that sometimes we need a word, sometimes we need a hand to help us, but sometimes we just need some food. Sometimes people just need some food, and we made the announcement here before about manna in manna food with the Smart Sacks program, and how we kind of have been joining that effort. And 2 months ago we started this partnership, and 22 plus 1 families have received food to take them over for the weekend, right? Before so the child can receive that food as well. And we do that because if we believe that if a child is well fed, lack of food does not become a hindrance, a barrier for their learning, right? And will not keep them from achieving their dreams in life as they are learning and trying to do something with their lives. But also, it reveals a little bit about the kingdom that we are trying to reveal in this world. Like Pastor Ed has been talking about revealing the kingdom by acts of justice, wholeness, peace, and beauty. And this is an act of justice. A child should not be without food. And so when we do that, we're revealing the kingdom, but we're also helping this child succeed in life and do better in life. So but this is the thing, it's a foreign thing for us. We may not think about this so often because when we go to the grocery store, we go with long lists. When we come back from the grocery store, we come back with long receipts. We can afford food, we can buy food. And so we don't think about the lack of food. But, what is when is my next meal is not something we're thinking about. But at Restoration Church, we believe that what and why we eat what we eat has a tremendous impact in the emotional and in our spiritual lives. What we eat and how we eat, why we eat has a tremendous impact. Paul wrote, so whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it to the glory of God. And this should be our goal. So food should be a fuel, not a comfort. Jesus is our comfort. Jesus is the one that comforts us, not the stuff we put in our bodies. So as a community of faith, joining God in the restoration of all things, helping one another to to care for our physical bodies is important. It's important. We want to provide support and accountability in how we view food. Now, let me just some disclaimers here. This does not mean we'll have a scale right in front of the door every time you come into our gathering. We'll have you weigh yourself in. All right, so you said that you would lose 5 pounds. You didn't lose it, so go back, lose those 5 pounds. No, we're not going to do that. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. And it does not mean that we're going to shame people into, oh, you didn't lose that weight yet? You know, you're struggling so bad on that. No, this is not what we do. Right? It's not a good thing. It just means that we invite people to walk with us, join us in a way of life that really promotes longevity of the body. Because if your body, for as much as you don't have control what's going to happen, right? You don't have control when some tragedy may happen. But as much as we can, we need to take care of this temple that God has given us so that we can be used by Him to do great things in this world for Him. So this is eating, food is fuel, not comfort is the first thing. The second thing, the practice that helps us be great physically is this: making discipline your friend. And I'm using another passage, 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 27. Paul here is addressing a very indisciplined church, the Church of Corinth. And they were claiming to follow Jesus, but their lives were not congruent with their claims. So Paul shares a little bit about his story and how he disciplines his body towards holiness. And so he says, verse 26, "Therefore, I do not run like a man running aimlessly. I do not fight like a man beating the air. No, I beat my body and make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize." No, Paul is clearly addressing a spiritual matter here. Considering, that he was just talking previously about disciplining the body in order to compel people to follow Jesus, like his health would help him to compel others to come and follow Jesus. However, when he compares himself to an athlete, he's communicating that we reap spiritual benefits when we make our bodies work for us. We are able to better fulfill God's given purpose when we are fit for the work that is laid out for us. And I'm not saying that everybody has, this means that everybody has to work out a certain way, or, that our bodies have to be perfect so that we can function. No. We were given something that we entrusted with something, whatever that body that God has given us, that we need to make sure that is in good health. Now, running a marathon is not in my list of to-dos. It's not. I don't like running, and I said that several times. I've been running, kind of trying to exercise my body, but it's a tough thing for me, right? So I have never ran a marathon, and I don't think God's purpose for me right now is that I would run one, right? But after my dad passed away in 2010, with a heart attack at age 58, I felt that, hey, maybe I should take a little better care of my body. I need to take a little more care of this temple that God has given. Because I want to be used by God in my family. I want longevity, so I can, as much as it depends on me, I want to be able to stick around for a little while, so I can be with my kids, have my kids, with my wife. I want to be around for my family. I want to be around for my neighborhood. Wherever God sends me, I want to be around for them. And wherever He, whether it's here, somewhere else, wherever He's going to send me in the future, I want to be ready. And I want to have a body that can keep up with where God calls. So we need to be good stewards of our bodies and use that as motivation for us to get up moving and doing things. I sound like Michelle Obama right now. At Restoration Church, we believe that disciplines for promoting healthy bodies should be incorporated into our regular rhythms of life. And what does that mean? Does that mean that everybody works out? No, maybe you just have to take some vitamins. Maybe you have to just go for a walk, get some fresh air, decompress. Go read your Bible as you're walking in a trail in the woods. I don't know. Something that will help you connect. Discipline that will help you decompress and allow your body to recuperate and be restored and recreate, right? So whether we recreate by doing something we love, exercising as a way to connect with others, because that's another tool that can be used. If you're biking, why don't you invite somebody else to bike with you?
Yeah.
And now you're biking with somebody, and I know that Jeff and Ed have been biking together. Hey, I know that when you're in the struggle there, it's kind of hard to get talking, right? But here and there, you get to share a little encouragement, a little word, and who knows? A relationship with somebody who's not in Christ yet. But by inviting him into your way of life, and you recreate, hey, come recreate with me, come work out with me. And from there, a relationship that is built that opens doors for storing together. There's just, your body is important. And discipline is important, like physical discipline as well. And we dream here at some point, like, it would be great to rent a gym and come as a church and kind of like work out in the community. We can still go wherever we used to go, but it's just a cool thing. You can invite people in and all that. Just dreaming for the future. And then finally, practice to help us recreate physically. Final one is this: make resting in God your refuge. Luke chapter 5, verses 15 to 16. This is the very beginning of Jesus' ministry. Things started just to pick up. He was starting to get really busy. And this verse 15 is what it says. Yet the news about him spread all the more, so the crowds of people came to hear him and to be healed of their sicknesses. So people are piling up, coming after Jesus. But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. He often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. As soon as his ministry started, he was teaching, he was healing, he was leading these disciples that he gathered. He was pretty busy. But he found time to run away from the pressures of saving the world, right? He run away a little bit from the pressures of saving the world to do the most important thing, which is connect with his Father. And I just imagine Jesus like connecting with his Father. Hey, Abba, this is how my day went. And then he's laying down. Hey, Peter is still struggling. I'm trying to work with him, and give me grace as I work with. He's just that having that relationship with his Father, and honestly, like I believe he napped too. I believe Jesus napped too. We actually have a story. I think he's a pretty good napper. He can nap during a storm. In the middle of the water, we're both going like this, and he can sleep. I think Jesus napped too, and took some time to rest with his disciples. So as personal story. As one of the pastors at Restoration Church, trying to start this, involved in starting this new church. There's a lot of pressure. I feel like in me and all of us, like there's a lot of things going on at the same time. So it's an intense season of life, and and there's other things going on at the same time. There's family roles, like my wife, my kids, and then there is providing for my family in different ways, and that's all added pressure. And then planning the church, creating content, plowing new ground, identifying a launch team, working out ministry initiatives and partnerships. I consider this season very exciting, and I could very easily get lost in doing all that. I could get very easily lost in that. And that's why I keep working on finding intentional ways to recreate. I started working out recently. I don't like working out, but now I'm starting to enjoy it. So it's kind of like a different feeling to me. But If we don't take care of this temple in the most intense seasons of life, our emotional and spiritual lives will crumble. We need this body. At Restoration Church, we believe that intense seasons of work must be followed by sufficient seasons of rest. Intense. So, I know Easter for churches is a big, big day, right? And there's a lot of preparation that goes before that. Guess what? When Easter is done, there's some follow-up to be done, but the intensity diminished incredibly. That is the time that pastors need some rest. They need to recreate. Like when you go to, and you had an intense week of work and in your job, and then comes that Saturday, Friday night. Go relax and recreate. I believe that in Pastor Ed here in carving time for those times. I feel like you're leading us in that aspect. We encourage us to pray, to fast, to guard our days off. And you demonstrate that when we try to push in things into your schedule. You guard your own schedule, and that teaches us something. Making time for rest is not natural for me. So I need somebody that will come alongside me and help me rest. So for this reason, we need a community that will help us do just that. So in our way of life, we believe that recreating physically is extremely important because the health of our body has a tremendous impact on our emotional and spiritual lives. So as we recreate physically, we must learn to make food our fuel, not our comfort. Let the fuel, the food that we eat, sustain us, but not become the place of refuge. Make discipline our friends. Live an active lifestyle. Position ourselves for longevity. We need to learn to take care of this body so that we can stick around long enough. Make resting in God our refuge. Schedule time to be alone with God, and sometimes take a nap. Maybe Sunday afternoon is your time. Take a nap. Rest. Now imagine if we all start putting this rhythm in practice and begin living out in our neighborhoods in a different kind of way. In this neighborhood, if you haven't noticed yet, it's a very busy neighborhood. I used to live in the middle of nowhere in the Poconos, life was okay, it was livable. And then I came down here, and it's like boom, 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 several things coming at you, and you need to guard that time, and you need to guard time to recreate physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and we do that by eating well, exercising, disciplining our bodies, and resting. So let's be committed to wholeness. Let's be committed to revealing the kingdom in the way we live, care for our bodies. Not as a way to show off our bodies, but as a way to let people know that my body matters because it's a temple for God's use. Let's take a time and pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for giving us the bodies you've given us. We know you make no mistake. We know that you make everything with a reason, for a purpose. So whatever was given to us has a purpose and a reason. And if our bodies have issues, we struggle, and yes, we're in a fallen world that this body is decaying. May we still understand that you are a God who wants us to make the most with what you've given us. You want us to be good stewards of the gifts you give us, and our bodies is one of them. So as a church, Lord, I pray that we would take time to recreate physically, and we take this seriously, and not as a shaming or as a putting people down or discouraging thing, but we would be encouragers of one another, and we'll come alongside one another and help each other to really live healthy lives. So we thank you. We thank you so much, and help us live this way of life. In Jesus I pray. Amen.
Good, man. It's good stuff. Good stuff. May it just be God's will for you to run that marathon, bro. Don't start saying that. Right, Anthony?
Yes.
Just a couple quick things. We're gonna close our time in just a minute with the story, and Margaret is gonna come share her story. Real excited about that. If you have your connection card, if you would take that out real quick. The bottom of the connection card has prayer requests and comments. We encourage you to use that. Many people have been. We pray for these, so thank you for engaging with that. We don't, however, need you to just put your name for attendance sake. So you don't need to put one of these in the basket if you don't have information that you need to share with us. So if you have prayer requests, continue to use that. Comments, any way you want to use this, continue to use that. That's really a blessing. Continue joining us here on Sundays. It's been a blessing. We had 20 people live with us during worship online. That was pretty cool. Continue joining us community groups. If you've downloaded the app, all that information is on the app. You can also get all the information on the website. Wednesday night community groups been incredible, been awesome. And then last way that we want and need you to join us, and I believe that everybody's participating in this way, but starting and launching a new church takes significant financial investment, obviously. Not only is it worship for us, but your investment enables us to fulfill our mission in several ways, and I just wanted to share this with you before Margaret comes. It provides ministry for our kids, which allows moms and dads to have a more life-giving experience in here. And so hopefully, even though we have some babies making some noise, it's not as noisy as we have 1st to 5th graders out, and Will and Yanina's kids aren't here, so, and other young ones. And we miss them, of course. Secondly, it allows us to bless our neighborhoods. Manna is an example of that. This is going to really begin taking more shape in the weeks to come as we begin to share what God's putting on our hearts. And if God is putting on your heart how we can bless the neighborhood, please let us know. Third, it allows us to hire interns like Michael and Jen, eventually to pay our staff, because we want our staff to have food on their table. None of the money goes to our staff right now. Next, it allows us to expand the space that we meet in. This space is only so big. We envision that God is going to be bringing more and more people, and so your financial investment will allow us to do that. A more life-giving environment for our guests. That's important. We're excited about that. Last, it allows us to join God in blessing. God has blessed us to be a blessing, and what a joy it is to give to that. So thank you guys for doing that, participating. There's 3 ways to give. I think we have a slide maybe. Anyway, 3 ways to give. You can write a check to Restoration Church. You can put that in the basket. Eventually, if anyone has actually offering box skills or suggestions, we'd love to do something like that. Secondly, online or through the Restoration Church app, which is safe, secure, and very simple. Or you can text GIVE to RC at 77977, which is pretty amazing. It's been a blessing to know Margaret since 2002. I think we were interns together, Margaret, at CCC. That was a long time ago.
Oh, wow.
So excited to hear her story. Please welcome Miss Margaret.
Well, good morning. For those of you who don't know me, like I said, I am Margaret. The guys asked me to share my story and how I became a believer in Jesus and who I am today. So let's start with creation. My life began in Rockville, Maryland, growing up in a traditional Chinese family of 5 with an older sister and a younger brother. And like many Chinese families, my parents were Buddhists. I was the middle child in the family, and I was taught to work hard, get good grades in school, like many Asian families, play the piano, play ping pong, follow and obey my parents, my teachers, just be a good girl, do the right thing. What were moments that shaped my life? Well, I struggled with abandonment as a baby, and then being a middle child Well, my mom was juggling 2 jobs at the time. She had little money, she had little time, and my sister to take care of. And so she decided to send me off to Taiwan for my grandmother to take care of me for about 2 years. So I was there from 0 to 2 Taiwan. At 2 years old, I came back to the States and I was speaking Taiwanese, of course, and asking for tea instead of milk or juice. Well, as a teenager, I could never really forgive my mother for doing this. I didn't understand why. Why did she send me away? Did she not love me? As a middle child, I was also a little bit ignored. So I learned to take care of myself, to be very self-sufficient, or selfish as you may call it. If no one was going to take care of me, well, I was. And so God ultimately used both of these really boldly in my life to draw me closer to Him. And then came the fall. Relationships became my addiction, being close to people, close girlfriends, going from one boyfriend to another in long-term relationships, and just wishing to be understood, that someone would know my heart. I wanted relationships beyond what others could give me. So I struggled with depression in high school. There was this sadness and deep emptiness in my heart that I wanted to fill with these unhealthy relationships and people. I had a far relationship with God and a very close relationship with people until these people, my friends, they moved away. These relationships were inconsistent and it sent me into a very dark cycle. But thankfully, there came redemption. God knew where I was and what I needed. In my first year of college, God brought friends into my life who loved Him. And I remember a close brother ringing my dorm room bell, just getting me to wake up on Sunday mornings to come to church with him, and I dreaded it so much. But in my first few visits to church, I heard and learned in the song that God knew me. He knew my name. God loved me for who I was, despite all of my imperfections, all of my flaws. God would never leave me ever, nor forsake me. His promises are real, solid, and just constant. I didn't have to do A, B, C, and D for God to love me or look a certain way. He just did. I heard from the pastor and through the praise songs that God loved me so much that He chose to die for me. When I sang these songs at church, I found myself tearing up. It sparked a hunger in my heart and in my mind. I found myself digging through the Bible my freshman year of college, just wanting to learn more about God. Restoration. How has the gospel changed my life? Well, first, God has given me the ability to love others and teach my second graders, despite the trials. It's been a tough year this year. I've had a tough group, but I teach at an underprivileged Title I school in Gaithersburg as a second grade teacher. God's helping me to overcome the baggage that my young second graders come to school with each day that come through in their behaviors. Behaviors aren't always the best, but God enables me to look to Him for strength and for joy, to speak life into my students instead of harping on them or tearing them down, to speak encouragement and hope and lift them up. Second, God has given me the grace to love and forgive my mother, which hasn't always been easy because our personalities clash a little bit. But after becoming a mother myself, I began to understand how hard it is to be a mom of 2 kids or 3 kids even in my family. And third, I've also learned that I don't need people. God has created me to need community to keep me accountable. God has given me a really healthy community of sisters and brothers that love Him. God has used this community and others in the past to help me grow, to be sharpened and challenged each day. To not just care for me and be selfish, but above all that, to learn to love, care for, and bless others around me. So that's my story. Thank you for letting me share this morning.
Well, thank you so much, Margaret. A lot of stuff I didn't know. Well, thank you so much, everybody, and let me close us in prayer. And we go recreate out
With donuts.
in the environment with donuts. So we made donuts today. All right. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for just bringing us together. We love being gathering together in community. I mean, this is part of our way of life. And we couldn't do anything without a community of faith that is walking with you. We couldn't do anything of significance in this world. So I pray, Lord, that we'll continue to gather, that we will continue to be inviting people into this way. Thank you for just the opportunity we have to recreate now and rest and think of you.